Hello, welcome to my Good Life Meditation. My name is Kurt Bell. This is an exercise that I do every morning, a little bit after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the challenges and the opportunities that I met. I remember the 8 objectives of my creed, and I plan for the coming day. But first, thank you to and welcome to new subscribers on YouTube. Glad you're here. Let you know a little bit about what I'm doing here. These videos are daily uploads done live. They're called the Good Life series. And basically they're my daily journal entry. I'm going to reflect on the last 24 hours. I'll prepare for the coming day, and I'll talk about the state of mind that I have and what's going on with relative to my life at large. A quick bio: I'm a 60-year-old American man, retired recently, about 4 months into retirement. I'm married to a 60-year-old Japanese woman. This is Japan. That's Japan happening behind me. You can see the mountains in the distance there. That's Shizuoka City back there, beginning to emerge from the clouds. This is a park just up behind my house. I'm at the very top. I'm keeping my voice a little bit hushed, just in case there's early morning strollers along the paths. It's a very, very beautiful park with lots of lovely pathways, and a lot of older people like to come up here, like me, in the morning and get in a little time before before their breakfast. All right. I also do want to let you know that during these videos, I sometimes talk about subjects that make people uncomfortable, like death. And I do want to say thank you for your watching this video, particularly if you're a member, and particularly if you're a Patreon supporter. You bought me my coffee this morning. I've got the Boss Cafe au lait, one of my favorites. Got from the vending machine down at the Prefectural Library, which is just down below me. This is a big complex right here. Back in the old days, this grounds that I'm on were burial grounds. I mean, we're talking way back in the Jomon period, prehistory. And there used to be all kinds of burial mounds around here. And Shizuoka City selected this as the site to build their prefectural museum and their prefectural library. And then they built these beautiful, extensive parklands. And just behind the park, there's trails that lead up into the Nihondaira Mountains. It's quite lovely up there. Maybe I'll take you up there if the connectivity sustains. All right, so I'm going to begin now. I'm going to do 3 things, like I said. I don't read comments or respond to comments during the course of this, but I will catch up on comments afterwards. That's so that I can keep my flow going. All right, because this is less of a dialogue, except at the end, and more of a soliloquy, so to speak, of a daily video live dissertation. It's too strong a word. Although sometimes it feels like that. Yesterday certainly felt like that. Okay, let's begin. Now, I always keep a notebook with me at all times, and I take notes throughout the day, 1 page a day. Kind of like this is literally the journal, although I don't keep it. I don't keep my journals. I'll throw this away when it's done. So for the last 24 hours, what notes did I make? Well, the only note that I have here, there was nothing. Oh, hold on, let me back up a little bit. Normally, in the course of my life, I will have 2 or 3 things on this list that represent, these are not the things that happened yesterday. My diary isn't a diary of I did this, that, and the other thing. It's a record of where I stumbled in the last 24 hours. What I'm looking for is the moments when I failed, or when life ambushed me, or when I succeeded, particularly with the unexpected. So for example, if I have a particular plan for how things are going to go down, I'm going to take my family to a restaurant downtown. The restaurant has only 4 parking spaces out front, and all 4 parking spaces are full, and there's a long line of people standing outside. How do I respond to that? Do I get upset? Do I, fuss and fume? Does it ruin my lunchtime experience? Or do I find a good way to use reason, fortitude? These are some of the principles of my creed. Reason, I mean, these are just general ideas. They're not, I don't own them. I just adopt them into my strategy of life. Do I use reason, fortitude, maturity, the social principle, to rally a mature response, come up with an alternative or a plan to say, hey, yeah, we're going to sit here with our blinkers on until a space opens and get in. We really want to go here, or we'll go to a different restaurant. Simple, pedestrian, mundane things that for a lot of people, but for me, these types of things take some work, right? They've taken work for me to get to a point of being mature, especially as I didn't have good role models for that type of behavior at an earlier time. So this record here, when I'm looking for the things here, I'm looking for where I stumbled, and I want to talk about how I did. And I'll mark both the successes and the failures. And I'll usually give myself a score, and the score comes in terms of stars, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars, all positive. The worst that I can do is that I had something happen and I fell on my face, and I get a single star for at least surviving it. 5 stars would be that I rallied my values and the tools of my better living endeavors to good ends and responded well. Sometimes I have things on the list. Usually in the past I've had a lot of things, like not a lot, but 2, maybe 3 things a day. What's happening now, 4 months into retirement, is that I'm finding that this list is not containing anything anymore. It's really rare. It's like I can't remember the last day that I had actually something on the list that was an example of a problem that I then met and got to talk about how to handle it. And I think that that's because I'm retired. And that's because the big effort of getting to Japan and buying a house and a car and settling into a life has pretty much largely been completed. And now my wife and I, Yumiko, are settling into just a simple life routine. I don't get ambushed so much by stuff anymore. The expectations are little. I mean, my days are my own. It's very easy, to put it simple. Now, I've talked about before in the last couple of videos how that's a scary thing in its own right? Because an unchallenged life could be a life that descends into irrelevance. It may be a peaceful irrelevance, but it certainly be irrelevant nonetheless. Now, is that irrelevance a bad thing necessarily? That's the question du jour. And that's why I have this one note that I have here. This middle road idea. What I'm trying to suggest there, if you've seen the videos in the last week or so, I keep talking about this kind of a crossroads moment at this age in this circumstance where I can choose to descend down into kind of irrelevance, just kind of the hands off the wheel, just fall into whatever daily routines I want to do, get up, walk, make these videos or not, have lunch with my wife, garden, listen to a couple podcasts, read the newspaper. I think about my father-in-law, who is quite content. Every day, he's 90, just reads his paper with the NHK, Japanese national television, running in the background. Doesn't really engage with the world anymore, and he's quite content. He's kind of descended. He retired and kind of descended, if I can call it that, into a rut. But it's a rut of his choosing, or maybe it's a rut because he had no other option. I mean, I think there's that too. And no other idea or no way to facilitate anything else. But the thing is, he seems quite content. So that's one thing. But there's others that I've seen, and some of them might walk past us this morning because I see them here in the park, who seems to be quite another thing. They seem to be into a rut of no way out because there was no way, there was no other idea, no cognition of anything else. So that's one path. Another path would be to, rally against the good night, to, force myself back into the chain of the way of thinking, the way of living that I did during my active career and parenthood years, striving to achieve. There's a guy that I go to Mini Stop before this. It's a convenience store at the bottom of the mountain. I used to do these videos there before the sun came up. Now the sun's up early enough, it's summer or spring, I can come up here and do this. Usually this would be pitch dark when I was doing this. So I used to do this down there. And I know the owner down there, and he's my age, if not a little older than me. And that guy, I think he owns a couple of many stop convenience stores. He just go, go, go. And he seems quite pleased and content, although I don't know that his coworkers are necessarily so, because he seems like a bit of a slave driver. But you get what I'm saying, right? I mean, he chose to enter this age and just go hard with whatever it is that he is, which is he's a convenience store owner and operator. So that's one thing. But now, and this note here says middle road idea. I'm wondering if there's some middle road between the two, right? Where it can be kind of a soft balance of the two. I don't know that this is actually feasible. I don't know that, maybe it's because it's my own character. I don't know that I have the character to sustain a middle path. Very first world problem, huh? But it's an interesting problem, and I think it's one that a lot of people encounter. Few talk about it, but I'm very interested in it. Oh, something did happen yesterday that I thought was really interesting. I was texting with a former coworker in my old job. I used to be an IT project manager, and I had a particular in my career, and I've only been 4 months removed from doing that. I had a particular niche in the IT project management world. I worked for a huge organization, 35,000 employees, and I was the IT project manager that I took on I wasn't the only one, but I was one of those that took on enterprise level projects. Enterprise means that it's not projects that affect just a small group of those 35,000, but affects everybody, right? Entire email systems, entire web server systems. That was my specialty. And we had, of those 35,000, we had more than 30 agencies that we supported. I worked for a government, one of I think it's the 10th largest county in the United States. So I had this very specialized niche. And the person I was texting with yesterday said that they heard in the next cube over someone come over and talk to the employee in the next cube over. And it was like a manager type that came over and talked to them, and they could overhear the conversation. And they were talking about a big project. And the manager said, I'm very, very, and the person I was texting said 3 times, I'm very, very, very unhappy that we don't have Kurt Bell to run this project. And I'm glad that, it was flattering to hear that, right? But once it also kind of rallied something in me, right? Because I'm only 4 months removed from my active career. I could easily step right back into that and, show up and ask for my old job back. Hey, why don't you hire me back, and I'll come run that big project that you were referring to, the XYZ project. Anyway, so it was very, hearing that it was like a call to the high road, right? The high road being not an ethical high road, but the high road towards basically distracting myself from the peace and tranquility of the world at large, because it is a largely peaceful, tranquil world outside of the human strife that is going on, which isn't trivial. But I mean, once you step away from that human strife, it's a pretty quiet place. And if I choose that I don't want to be too overwhelmed by all this quietude, I could step back into my old role. It's not too late. Now, I know I don't want to do that. I told Yumiko that anecdote that I just shared, and she's like, you're not thinking about doing it, right? No, I'm not. I won't be going back to that. And I don't know that I can pursue the middle path. I don't know that it's tenable or feasible. That leaves me with a low road, doesn't it? That begs the question, is the low road a dark path? I think it can be. It could also be a very peaceful path. I guess it depends on what eyes we carry into that. So that was all I have for yesterday, was that observation, the middle road idea. Let me mark that. Oh, just in some more diary-like notes, Emily is here. She stayed with us. She came the night before last. She spent the whole day with us yesterday. We had a really nice time. Emily's our daughter. She's 24. She's starting her, she's just finished 2 weeks of training, and she'll start her career in earnest tomorrow. Seems like I've been saying this for months now. She's starting her career. She is literally starting it tomorrow. And I think I mentioned she got her first paycheck yesterday, and or was that the day before yesterday? Yeah, the day before yesterday. She took mom and dad out for a nice meal, which is a tradition here in Japan. Kids, when they get their first paychecks, they'll take mom and dad out for a thank you meal. We had a nice time with that. We had a great time with her. It was really interesting hearing her thoughts. I mentioned this yesterday as well, so I won't go on and on. But as a father and curious type of watching adults grow, it's very interesting to hear her talk about her life and her ideas about the future. So we'll spend the morning with her. She's taking the bullet train back to Tokyo this afternoon. So we'll spend the morning with her. Probably go to a flea market. We went to the flea market yesterday, but it turns out it was closed. Well, not closed, but we got the day wrong. It's today, not tomorrow, not yesterday. Okay, so that's that for all of that. Let's go over the 8 objectives of my creed. A creed, of course, is just, for those that aren't familiar with the term, you've probably heard it before, but sometimes, I had to look it up when I was looking for a word. I was looking for a word to describe the value set that I was assembling for myself to live by when I was writing my book, Going Alone. And I was like, well, what would you call that? Would you call it a series of ethics? What do you call that? Principle? What is it? Because there was principles, objectives, and it turns out creed is the right thing. It's like whatever values that someone has assembled to follow by way of a life guidance. So my creed consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. What's the difference? The objectives are where I'm striving to be as a man, as a human being, attempting to make good use of my life. So if I can meet those objectives, those 8 objectives, and this is why I do it on a daily basis. I don't just set them out there on the shelf and forget about it. I pick them up every single morning and I count them, all 8 of them. I say, okay, here's the things, here's the objectives, here's how I want to live today. I want to live and abide these things. If I can do that, then I would consider that day a well-lived day. So how do I do that? Well, I facilitate that through the 35 principles. And the principles are just best practices, rules of thumb that I have uncovered, mostly borrowed. A few I've made up wholesale. They've given strange names to, like the Homunculus and the Path of Wildness and things like that. Well, the Path of Wildness is not a principle, but it fits in the Homunculus, the Anchorhold, the Home of Good and Evil, things like that. These are names that I've given to ideas that belong properly to humanity, but I've adopted into my own framework, into my own creed. So I don't go over the 35 principles every day. You can read those if you want in my book, Going Alone, which is available to read for free at goingalone.org. Patreon supporters can get free copies, PDF copies of all my books as well. And I'll send a free copy, a PDF copy to anybody that writes to me at dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com. My books are not ventures to make money on. They're ventures to basically, if I'd be so bold, as to share a life methodology that it took me a long time to develop that seems to work pretty dang good. I won't say it'll save my immortal soul, but then I don't think I have an immortal soul, so I guess hopefully I'm covered. Won't I be surprised? Okay, so let's go over the 8 objectives of the creed, because that's doable. The first objective, and it's sufficient just to name them. That's all I need to do every day, is name them. I don't have to think about them in depth. Although I usually do think about the first one, because they are ordered kind of important in terms of, not importance necessarily, but they kind of like dominoes following over. And if I can nail the first one, then I've kind of covered the rest. They're all gonna fall. The The first one is to be always ready to die. And what that simply means is that I have my life and circumstance and affairs and relationships in a state where if I were to die suddenly, and literally if I'm going over as I have a heart attack, I'm not falling over thinking, oh, I wish I'd done something. Oh, I wish I'd settled that grief with that person. Or oh, no crap, Yumiko doesn't know the password to the bank account. You get it? And I don't have any of those things. So I have to have my affairs need to be in order. My life's work needs to be complete, and my relationships need to be sound, and they all are. So I'm ready to die, even though I don't want to die. I've got a lot of stuff I still want to do, but I'm prepared if I need to. Let me take a last sip. Isn't that a lovely bird in the background? It's a springtime bird. I think the Japanese call it ugugisu. Not that one. That's a maki. That's a J. That one. The name of the bird kind of sounds like the sound. Okay, the second objective is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days, to not let them just slip through my fingers, like granted free water. 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles and objectives, and that's precisely what that's one of the things I set out to do when I first started this meditation. I call this a meditation. I'm not but I'm thinking and meditating on ideas and experiences. When I first started this meditation, it was specifically to go over. But when I first started this, there were only like 3 objectives and 6 principles, so it was easy. But now it's grown. It used to be when I first started this back in 2018, this daily exercise, I would go over all of them, but I don't do that anymore. But that third objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Now, I'm going to linger for a moment on what that means, the distinction between good and sound. Good means that these are objectives and principles that yield good ends. I mean, they yield results, right? So, for example, my objective of being always ready to die should yield that result of being prepared for death. Sound means that if I investigate it from the perspective of reason, it makes sense, right? It's not just something that it's not enough if the argument yields a result. The argument has to make sense and be grounded in the real world. I hope I've communicated that well. It just doesn't make us feel good. It matches reality. That's what sound means. So I want to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. And that's these 8 objectives and 35 principles. 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who responds well when the stuff hits the fan, doesn't fly off the handle, or at least not too much, maintains control, and to use my last objective, keeps my balance. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my creed, which means that I'm trying to make the world a better place. And it doesn't have to be an overt effort. It's not like I have to be, founding charitable organizations and, leading the charge for things. It's great if I do that, but I'm not that type of person. But what is sufficient is if my activities, my decided activities and decisions in life facilitate ends that, if not relieving suffering, at least don't contribute to more suffering in the world. That's sufficient. I would like to think that I'm striving towards more than sufficient. And frankly, making these videos is part of that effort. Writing my 6 books was a part of that effort. The endeavor of keeping active correspondence, which I always do. I'm always in correspondence with 2, 3, 6 people every week who send me email talking about their lives, and it's like they're coming in from it feels like sometimes like people come in for like a pit stop. I got an email yesterday from someone, and they led off with, "I haven't talked to you in about 6 years," right? So it was and this person, if you see the video, they'll know who they were, and they wrote to me, and they were just checking in. I get these all the time. I get people that they'll have I don't know how this is with YouTube, but somehow YouTube seems to show my videos to a particular demographic, or at least it's a demographic that I hear a lot from, which is the 18 to 24-year-old, typically young men, who, even younger, I mean, high school, even junior high school. And I'll hear from them every 2, 3, 6 years. I mean, I've got so many people that I'm in correspondence with now who are, and they're mostly young men, a few women, but mostly young men who are now young fathers, or even more than young fathers, middle-aged fathers with careers, etc., who started watching my videos when they were in high school, and they check in like I said, every couple. I got one yesterday. I don't think he'd mind. I'll just um, no, I won't say his handle, because I don't know if he wants to keep his privacy. And it was exactly that. He just sent me an email. I haven't talked to you in about 6 years. Here's what I'm up to in life. And hope you're all doing good. Glad to see you're back in Japan, etc. So I responded back. You go, and it's like a pit stop. It's like having a race car come in, getting new tires. Talking about things, fueling up, and off they go. I'll see him again in 5 years. Now, so to me, this activity of doing these daily videos, writing my books, maintaining the correspondence, is my endeavor of engaging towards improving the well-being of thinking creatures. Because I do believe, and I know it for a fact, that my creed works insofar as giving us, I'll give you an anecdote from yesterday. I'll give you an anecdote. And I still haven't completely thought, I'm going to just take it aside for a moment. I still haven't completely thought about how I'm going to, the fallout. I haven't thought this one through yesterday. We stopped yesterday in a part of town, and at a convenience store, and something very rare and unusual happened. I was standing outside, and the ladies were inside, and there were 4 young men standing out front, and some sort of a conflict was going on, and I thought they were going to have a fight, and they started jostling. This is really rare. I mean, you don't see this very often. They started jostling one another, as young men sometimes do. And I almost stepped in. Just before that happened, the employees from the convenience store stepped outside and got in the middle of it all. It turns out something had happened, some sort of an inventory item, or out of stock or something like that, and that pissed off one of the young men. The other man, I guess they got something like the last of the, one-piece collectibles or something like that. I mean, I don't know, I'm making it into it. But anyway, all that happened, and afterwards I weighed nothing. There was no fight, there was nothing, no altercation, but I weighed afterwards what would be the best response in that circumstance. How to best engage with that. Fortunately, things went down well insofar as the employees came outside. 2 of them came outside and settled down the affair and saw to it that them. They left in different vehicles. They had 2 boys on scooters and 2 other boys on cars. And the 2 boys in the car, they were definitely bad boys. They were tough. I guess there's nothing really to speak to about that except just relate the story. In the moment, though, as they were kind of scuffling, because they did get to the point where the one guy grabbed the other shirt and was kind of rustling him up, and he was kind of rustling towards me, right? And probably in the States, I would have, spoke up, and said, hey, just try to, calm the situation down or something like that, and probably end up shot. Here in Japan, the dynamic is different. So here's where I'm caught off guard, right? Because I haven't thought it through, really. I was protected. I was saved from needing to engage by the intervention of the store staff. This has happened to me before, though. This isn't the first time. That happened a long time ago. There were I was in the situation, and 2 Yakuza guys were beating up another guy. I was only 19 then. And they stopped it on their own. Let me take a moment to think about this. See, clearly I'm not prepared to handle it, because this is the type of thing that just doesn't happen. Well, clearly it does. Well, there's dynamics that I could throw out that color the circumstance a little bit. Like if I was a young father and I had my daughter with me, well, I would have to look after her well-being and take that into consideration, which means I would protect my daughter, which means I would probably retreat back from the scene and, etc. But what to do in the circumstance like yesterday if it had gotten out of hand and I'm a seemingly capable guy? Probably, and this is not me responding fast enough to be able to have responded well in the circumstance. Probably in the midst of it all, I would have shouted and tried to use my presence and my foreign presence to, kind of break things up in a way, but not insert myself into it. I'm not physically capable of doing that. But I would have said something. Probably the extent of what I could do, because it wasn't like they were like beating. These were really, it was two guys, so it really would have devolved down into a fist fight between two young men. If they were like going after some innocent or a child or something like that, or a woman or something like that, then I would feel it would be different. I would step in clearly. Yeah. So my first instinct was, and I almost did it, was to raise my voice and to make a scene. What would happen after that, I'm not sure. Would they then take it out on me? Am I afraid of that necessarily? Well, I'm ready to die. I guess that's what I would have done, and I would have done it. And I was this close to doing it in the moment. So, and I can't think. I'm trying to think of other alternatives that I could do now that I have the time to think. I mean, I could call 119, which is the police, but then what am I? That's going to take time, right? I could, pop my head into the mini stop store and say, hey, there's a fight going on outside, but then that's going to get the mini stop staff, put them in the thick of it all. I could just stand by and let the two men beat each other up. That's one thing. And, probably they wouldn't kill each other. They're not likely to be armed. Probably speaking up is probably the best thing I could have done, and is the thing I would have done. So my first gut instinct was probably the one I would fall through on. So this is what I mean by reflecting on things and then trying to piece it through. This then sets the stage should that circumstance ever happen again. Now I have unarmed with it. Now I have to be very careful. Here, Japanese law and police are very different than the police in the West. For example, if you think you're doing a good Samaritan act by stepping in and doing that, you could find yourself in just as much trouble as the instigators of the issues. Japan does not favor, what would you call it? Japanese police respect restraint. And if you don't exercise that restraint, like you could be, like in America, we think somebody's like nudging me shoulder and stuff, and it sufficiently provokes me and I have to respond, the cops are gonna go, well, yeah, he provoked you, right? That's not the way it works here. It provoked me, and then I punch back, and he hits me in the face, and then I hit him back. I'm just as bad as that guy that hit me, right? Because I lost my cool. So you have to tread that line carefully as well. A lot to think about there. Okay, so then the next, I was stuck on objective number 5. Now, number 6 is to do just one thing at a time and do the thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully. Number 7 is to keep my balance. Well, actually, that's number 8, so I missed one. Again, I'm always missing one. What's the one I missed? Okay, to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions relative to my creed, to recognize, that's it. It's it's the same one I missed yesterday. To recognize my true limits and true opportunities so I know how far my reach extends. I'm not grasping for things that are beyond me. And likewise, not ignoring things that I could do something about. Like that incident with the boys yesterday, young men. I could have done something about that. I didn't have to because the circumstances changed, but it was not beyond my reach. But whether or not would have been a prudent move to do something, that's another matter. Okay, let's get down to the last part of this. This is the next 24 hours. What am I going to do? Well, Emily is here for the morning time, so I'm going to go back to the house now, which I'm very close to home now. Usually when I make these videos, the riverfront that I've done the last 2 or 3 days, it's way the hell out there in the valley. So I'm close to home. Home is just literally right down the path here. So I'll just go home, have breakfast with the family, and then we're going to go to the flea market and then send Emily off back to Tokyo. And then we'll prepare for the week. It's going to be an enormous week. This is the week of the remodeling. So we're going to get tomorrow's demolition day. It's my responsibility to manage the dogs. So I think we're going to take Ollie, the black dog, and leave him at Dad's house. And I'm going to keep Rudy, the white dog, at hand all day while the demolition goes on. And then after that, we're going to do, it's like a 3 or 4 day affair. We have 3 rooms that are being done. The Japanese bath is getting a whole new Japanese bath. The Senmenjo, which is the combination changing room, laundry room, and then the toilet room, which is all 3 of them are getting completely redone. Big week. Let's go through comments and then I'll wind things up. Hi, Erica. Hi, Kurt. Wishing you and your wife a wonderful day. Thank you. Best to you as well, Erica. Heather. Hi, Heather. Hi, Kurt. Good morning. Heather, let me know that package is on its way. I sent you a message on Patreon. Mike. Hey, Kurt. I just wanted to drop by and say I think you're a deeply insightful, inspiring person. I've only recently discovered your videos, but I'm so glad I did. Your daily stream has been so valuable. Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it, and welcome to the channel. Worth Doing Badly says, good morning, Kurt. Sounds like you need to find your ikigai. Well, I think I found that. I think I know what that is. The thing is it's done. my life's work is complete. So that doesn't mean that I can't find a new life's work, but it's a little late in the game to take on a new one. I know the typical responses to that will always be, no, it's never too late. You can always take on something new. Well, to hell with that. Evelyn, if you're still out there, I think I saw her. Evelyn's the next in line. She has her, hi Kurt, hi everyone. If Evelyn's out there, she's in a circumstance like mine. It's like, you get to this age, it's like, what the hell with that? You know, I've done, I don't want to work so hard anymore. But so, yeah, the ikigai is a good thing to have. Everyone, that means kind of like your purpose relative to your aptitudes, right? I believe, and more this is becoming evident to me, that my ikigai is making these videos. And then after that, I'll retreat to the garden. Hello again, Evelyn. It's good to see you. Little Five, good morning. Little Five says, I started watching your video when I just graduated from high school. LOL. Yeah, it's a story. Now, your name, Little Five, it's one of those names. There's names that I recognize that just go way back to the days, and yours is one of them for sure. Daniel, hi Daniel. Good morning to you. Heather, yeah, I'll go check it out. I can't wait to see. I've been checking out your eBay store. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Heather. All right, everybody. Well, that's it for this morning. I enjoyed doing this from this higher location. I wore myself out yesterday. I walked almost 5 miles before breakfast, and as a result, I wore myself out and I was exhausted a lot of part of the day. So I decided today, instead of going that way, I came up the side of the mountain. So when I'm done, I just go back down to the house. This is kind of fun. I might start doing this from up here, or maybe a little further up the river if I can find the connectivity. I hope everybody has a really good day. I wish you all the best. Remember to please be safe, but not too safe. Life's short. Take care.